Good evening, everyone. In the last session, we understood what is EC2 in AWS. AWS EC2. EC2 is one of the famous service that is available in AWS cloud. AWS, Amazon Web Services, it is providing some IT infrastructure as a service for us. It is providing more than 200 plus services which are required for our project. In those services, EC2 is one of the service. EC2 stands for Elastic Compute Cloud. EC2 stands for Elastic Compute Cloud. EC2 is one of the most famous service available in AWS. EC2 is one of the most famous service available in AWS. By using EC2, we can create virtual machines. What we can do by using EC2? By using EC2, we can create virtual machines, which is also called as VM. By using EC2, we can create virtual machines required for our project. Guys, here, whenever we are creating a virtual machine, that virtual machine is called as one instance. When I say computer, or when I say machine, or when I say server, or when I say VM, in the EC2, we will call this thing as instance. We have created one EC2 instance in the AWS. Now, generally outside, we will call it as a computer, we will call it as a machine, we will call it as a server, or we will call it as a VM, virtual machine. But coming to AWS terminology, we are going to create, or we are creating instances in the EC2. So tomorrow when you are working in the company in the company work, your team members will say that connect to EC2 instance, or create a EC2 instance, or launch EC2 instance. Instance means we can call it as a computer, we can call it as a machine, we can call it as a server, or we can call it as a VM. In the AWS terminology, one instance nothing but one machine. So yesterday we have created one instance in the EC2. By using EC2, we can create multiple instances required for our application. By using EC2, we can create multiple instances required for our application. In the last session, we have created one EC2 instance with Windows operating system. We have created one EC2 instance with Windows operating system. Now, that EC2 instance is running in AWS data center. AWS is having a data center. We know that what is a data center. Data center is nothing but collection of servers which are connected with the complex network. In this AWS data center, I have created one EC2 instance. Instance means one machine. EC2 instance I have created. Now, that EC2 instance running in some other location, not in my location, not in my system. That is somewhere else that EC2 instance is running. Now here, I am having my personal laptop. This is my personal computer. Now, I want to connect to that EC2 instance from my personal computer. In this EC2 instance having which OS? It is having Windows operating system. We know that what is Windows. Regularly, we are using Windows operating system in our personal life also. Now, how I can connect from my personal computer to EC2 instance? EC2 instance is having which operating system? That EC2 instance is having Windows operating system. Now, my personal computer is also having Windows operating system. In my laptop, I am also using Windows OS only. EC2 instance also having Windows OS only. How to connect from one Windows OS to, one computer to another computer. So my personal computer having Windows operating system, EC2 instance, which is available in the AWS data center, also having Windows operating system. How can we connect that? In order to connect from one Windows machine to another Windows machine, we have one application in the Windows operating system that is called as RDP, Remote Desktop Connection. What is that application available, guys? RDP application is available. By using this RDP application, we can connect from one Windows machine to another Windows machine. One machine is my local machine, or I can say my personal machine. Another machine is AWS machine. Another machine is the AWS machine. Now, this EC2 instance is having some details. What are the details available? DNS available, that is called address available, and a username available, and a password available. DNS available, username available, password available. Now, by using this DNS, username, password, we can connect to this EC2 instance by using RDP application. RDP is one application which is available in the Windows machine. RDP stands for Remote Desktop Connection. RDP stands for Remote Desktop Connection. Remote Desktop Connection. It is one application in the Windows OS. It is one application in Windows operating system. In the Windows, we have Paint. Now you see, I'm typing on the Paint. I'm drawing the diagrams on the Paint. We have a notepad. In the Windows, we have a calculator in the Windows. Notepad is one application in the Windows. Paint is one application in the Windows. MS Office is one application in the Windows. Similarly, RDP is also one application in the Windows. RDP stands for Remote Windows OS. Using RDP, we can connect from one Windows machine to another Windows. Using RDP, we can connect from one Windows machine to another Windows machine. Using DNS, username, and password. So that is what we have done in the yesterday's session. I have launched one EC2 instance with Windows OS. Again, I'm telling you, when I'm saying instance, it is AWS terminology. In general, we will call it as a computer, or we'll call it as a machine, or we'll call it as a server, or we'll call it as a virtual machine. But now we are AWS engineers. We are going to become the cloud engineers. As a cloud engineer, you will call that computer as an instance, right? Yesterday's session, I have launched one EC2 instance with Windows operating system. Then it given me DNS, username, and password. DNS, username, and password. Now, I am already using one computer for my personal purpose. To conduct the classes in Ashok IT, I'm using my personal computer. In my personal computer also, I am having Windows operating system. In the AWS cloud also, I have Windows machine or Windows instance. Now, how can I connect from my personal computer to EC2 instance? First of all, understand what is the OS available in the EC2 machine? Windows. What is the OS in my personal computer? Windows. Okay, I have Windows, they have Windows. From one Windows machine to another Windows machine, I want to connect. For that, we will use what application? RDP. RDP will be available in the Windows operating system by default. You no need to install. If you are using Mac, then you need to install that manually. But when you are using Windows, it is available by default. You just need to go to Start menu, type Remote Desktop Connection. That is an app which is inbuilt in the Windows. Whenever you click on this app, now it is asking computer name. That is nothing but DNS. Here, username is available. When I click on connect, it will ask my password. So that I can connect to that EC2 instance and I can perform my operations. Are you guys able to understand what is RDP? Are you able to understand what is RDP now? Please confirm in the chat. Are you able to understand what is RDP? Okay. We are able to understand what is RDP, remote desktop connection, that is used to connect from one Windows computer to another Windows computer. Perfect. Now, guys, here we need to understand that Windows operating system given by Microsoft company. Who given this Windows operating system for us? Who given this Windows operating system for us? Windows operating system given by or developed by, provided by Microsoft company. Provided by Microsoft company. Okay. Windows operating system is paid software. Windows OS is paid software. We have to purchase. We have to purchase. And Windows operating system is single user based operating system. That means only one person can access Windows operating system at a time. Windows OS is single user operating system. Windows is single user based OS. Windows is single user based operating system. What is the meaning of that? Only one user can access at a time. How many users can access Windows operating system at a time? Can you guys tell me? How many people can access Windows at a time? Only one user. Now, I am using my laptop. So my laptop is having Windows OS. I am taking the class by using Paint. Can anybody use my operating system now? Can other user, can my father, mother, wife can use my system now? Can they use my system? Can they play a movie here? No. Why? Only one person can connect to the Windows OS at a time. That's the reason Windows is called as single user based operating system. Only one user can access at a time. One user can run multiple applications. Now you see, in my OS, Zoom is running. In my OS, Zoom application is running. Paint is running. And browser is running. Zoom is running. Paint is running. That means, am I able to run multiple applications? Yes. Note. One user can run multiple applications at a time. In Windows, one user can run multiple apps at a time. Like example, I will be using browser. I will be using Notepad. I'm using MS Paint, etc. Windows operating system provided by Microsoft company. Windows OS is paid software. We have to purchase that. Windows is single user based operating system. That means only one user can access at a time. In Windows, one user can run multiple applications at a time. For example, browser, Notepad, MS Paint, all these things we can run at a time. Windows operating system is less secured. Windows operating system is less secured. Windows OS is less secured. Hackers can attack Windows machines easily. Windows OS is less secured. Hackers can hack or attack Windows machines easily. Hackers can attack or hack the Windows machines easily because Windows is having less secured. We need to install operating system. In this Windows operating system, we need to install antivirus. Antivirus software we need to install because Windows is not virus free. There is a chance of getting virus in the Windows OS. So manually we need to install antivirus to protect our applications in the Windows. Are you guys able to understand? We need to install antivirus software in the Windows to protect our applications from the virus. We need to install antivirus software manually in Windows OS to protect our applications from virus. there is a chance of getting virus for our machine or for our application. So in order to protect our applications from the virus, we are going to install antivirus software in the Windows machines. Are you guys clear with this one? What is Windows? Now, I have taken EC2 instance with Windows. The Windows is given by Microsoft company. Windows OS is a paid software. We have to purchase that software. And Windows is single user based operating system. That means at a time only one person can access Windows. If second person wants to connect to Windows, first person cannot use it. Only one user can access Windows at a time. That one user can run multiple applications at a time. Single user multitasking. One user can do multitasking. That means I'm running the Chrome browser, I'm running the Zoom application, I'm running my Notepad, I'm running my Paint. Multiple, these all are the applications in the operating system. One user can perform multitasking by using Windows, but multiple users cannot perform multitasking in the Windows. Windows is only single user supporting operating system. Now, when it comes to Windows security standpoint, Windows operating system is less secured. Hackers can hack or hackers can attack the Windows machines easily. And when I am running several applications in my Windows operating system, there is a chance of getting virus. Okay, in order to protect our applications from the Windows operating system, we are going to install antivirus software. Antivirus software and Windows software we have to purchase. It is not free. Microsoft is not giving for free. We need to purchase the Windows operating system. Okay, guys. Now, but in the real time, do you think that companies will use Windows operating system to host the applications? Windows is very good in GUI, graphical user interface. Windows operating system is recommended for personal use. Windows operating system, Windows OS is recommended for personal computers, because it is having good graphical user interface. It is having beautiful graphical user interface, which is called as GUI. Windows operating system is recommended for personal computers, personal use, because it is having beautiful graphical user interface. What is the meaning of graphical user interface? Now, if you go to Windows OS, you can see what are the drives available in the Windows. And you can see that here there is a folder. You can refresh it. You can see the properties. You can go to directory. You can create a folder. You can delete a folder. Everything you can do with the button clicks. This is called graphical user interface, which is given by the Windows. Windows is having beautiful graphical user interface. That's why it is recommended for personal computers. Suppose you are using a laptop for your personal usage. You want to Google, you want to do online shopping, you want to store your data, you want to watch movies, you want to play the games. For such a kind of a personal purpose, you can go for Windows operating system. For personal usage, you can go for Windows operating system. Can you tell me Windows is recommended for running the applications? Can you say that Windows is recommended for hosting our applications, or Windows not recommended for hosting our applications? Windows is not at all recommended to host the applications. First thing is Windows is not secured, and Windows is a single user operating system, and Windows is a commercial software. These all are the problems with the Windows operating system. Okay, now what are the problems available with the Windows? It is not free. First of all, it is not free, and only one user can access at a time. Less security. So these are the problems available. So to overcome the problems of the Windows operating system, we will use Linux operating system in the companies. To overcome the problems, to overcome the challenges, or to overcome the problems of Windows operating system, we will use Linux operating system. Okay, guys, if you want to become a AWS engineer or if you want to become a DevOps engineer, you should be strong in the Linux operating system. You need to become very strong in the Linux operating system. But as of now, you are using which operating system? As of now, you are using which operating system? Come on, guys. In your computer, which operating system you have? In your computer, which operating system you are using? From today, you need to use Windows or Linux. For personal purpose, you will use Windows. For application purpose, we will use Linux. Got it? To overcome the problems of the Windows OS, we will use Linux operating system. We will use Linux operating system. Linux is free and open source operating system. Linux is free and open source operating system. Linux is free and open source operating system. Linux is free. Free means no need to purchase. What is the meaning of open source? Linux operating system code is also available. Linux operating system code is also available. Linux source code is also available. We can customize that. Can you customize the Windows OS? Can you customize the Windows OS? No, Microsoft is not giving the OS for us. But Linux operating system source code is available in internet. That's why it is called as open source. It is called as open source. Anybody can take the Linux operating system code, can customize according to their requirement. Anybody can take Linux OS code and can customize according to their requirement. But for Windows, we can't do that. Windows is a paid software which is managing by Microsoft. But Linux is an open source. It is free. Anybody can use Linux operating system, and Linux is open source. The source code of the Linux is also available in the internet. You can take the Linux source code and you can customize that source code. According to your requirement. Okay, Linux is multi-user based operating system. Linux is multi-user based operating system. That means multiple users can connect to Linux operating system at a time, can perform multitasking. But Windows is a single user based operating system. Only one user can connect to the Windows at a time, whereas Linux is multi-user based operating system. Multiple users can connect to Linux operating system at a time. And Linux is very secured operating system. Linux is very secured operating system. Linux is not developed by any company. Linux is a community-based operating system. Linux is not from any company, guys. Linux is community-based operating system. Group of people from different companies working together to support the Linux operating system. But Windows operating system is from the Microsoft. Linux is community-based operating system. If you have a free time, you can also work for the Linux operating system. Linux is a open project, public project. Anybody can work on Linux operating system. Whereas Windows is only Microsoft company operating system. Windows is Microsoft company operating system, whereas Linux is community-based operating system. Linux is very secured operating system. Linux is multi-user based operating system. Anybody can take Linux OS code and can customize according to their requirement. Now, that's the reason it is called as open source operating system. And you no need to purchase the Linux also, because Linux is free. Linux is free. To overcome the problems of Windows operating system, we will use Linux operating system. Linux is free and open source operating system. Linux operating system code is available in internet. That's why it is called as open source. You can take it and you can customize as per your requirement. Are you guys able to understand What is the difference between Windows and Linux? Are you guys able to understand the difference between Windows and Linux? Come on. So now tell me, when to go for Windows operating system, when to go for Linux operating system? Windows personal use. Linux is highly recommended for businesses to maintain servers. Linux OS is highly recommended for businesses, servers, application hosting, all these things, servers, app hosting, DB servers. For DB servers, all these things we are going to do to run servers, app hosting, to run DB servers, we are going to use Linux. If you are using for if you want one operating system for your personal purpose, then you can go for Windows. If you want to use for your project purpose, for your application purpose, then you need to go for Linux operating system. Now tell me, being a software engineer, you should know about the Linux or not required? We have to know, because tomorrow in the company for our project Linux OS will be used. Not only DevOps people, not only AWS people, even programmers also, Java people also should know about the Linux, because Java applications will be running on the Linux machines only. Java application servers will be running on the Linux machines only. Databases will be running on the Linux machines only. In company, everything will be on the Linux machine only. So that's why everybody should know this Linux operating system. It is very, very, very important. When we compare Windows and Linux, Linux is having more advantages than Windows, but Linux is little bit difficult to use. In the Windows we have GUI. In the Windows we have beautiful user interface available. It is easy to use. Linux is not that much good in the GUI. So that's why for personal use, people will not prefer Linux, but for project purpose, people will prefer Linux operating system. Okay. Now, first of all, when this Linux OS came into market, how this Linux OS came into market? Evolution of Linux. Sir, how this Linux operating system came into market? Evolution of this Linux operating system. Okay, Linux is an open source operating system, right? Linux is from any company. Which company developed Linux? Can you answer that question? Which company developed Linux? Red Hat, huh? No. It is community based, man. No company. For Linux, there is no company. A group of people developed it. Okay. Now, let me tell you that first operating system came into the market in the year of 1950s. First operating system, first OS came into market in 1950s. In 1950s, the first operating system came, not Linux. First of all, operating system came into market in the year of 1990s. Which company developed? Which company? General Motors Research Lab implemented the first OS in the early 90s for their IBM 701 project. General Motors Research Lab Research Lab implemented the first OS in the early 90s. In the early 1950s for IBM 701 project. Okay, that's where the first operating system came into market. Okay, now the first version of the first OS came into market in the year of 1950. In 1960s, the first version of Unix operating system came into market. Unix operating system came into market. 1960s. In 1960s, the first version of Unix operating system came into market. Are you guys getting my point? Are you guys getting my point? Microsoft released first operating system in 1981. Before Microsoft, before Windows, already operating system available. In 1950s only operating system came into market. In 1950s, General Motors Research Lab implemented first operating system as part of their IBM 701 project. In the 1960s, the first version of Unix operating system came into market. Microsoft released their first operating system in 1991, which is called as Microsoft DOS operating system. The first operating system which given by the Microsoft is called MS-DOS. MS-DOS. Now, in 1985, Microsoft provided GUI for the operating system that is called our Windows operating system. Okay, when this Microsoft Windows came into market in 1995, what was the first operating system which was developed by the Microsoft? MS-DOS. MS-DOS doesn't have this GUI. It was built in 1991 by purchasing 86-DOS software from a Sattel company. This Microsoft also not developed on their own. They purchased the DOS operating system from another company and they have developed that. They made some changes for that. The present, the Windows operating system, Microsoft Windows operating system came into market in 1985 with GUI. That is graphical user interface, that what we are seeing now. Microsoft Windows OS came into market in 1985 with GUI. So this is evolution of operating systems. Are you guys able to understand? Evolution of operating system. First OS came into market in the 1950s. General Motors Research Company implemented the first OS in the early 1950s. Then in 1960s, the first version of Unix operating system came into the market. Microsoft released their first operating system in the 1981, which is called as MS-DOS. That was the first operating system given by Microsoft. That MS-DOS also, they have not developed everything. They purchased it from Sattel company and they modified that and they have released MS-DOS. Then after, in 1985, Microsoft provided Windows operating system with GUI. Windows 1, Windows 3, Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10, Windows 11, Windows 12, like that. So some versions are coming. For the Windows. So when the first Windows operating system came into market from Microsoft in 1985, that is what this Windows operating system. It is provided by Microsoft company. It is a paid software. It is a single user based operating system. There is no much security. We have to install antivirus and it is recommended for the personal use. Then what about Linux? Linux is not from any company. Linux is a community based operating system. Okay, in the 1985, Windows came into market. In 1960 only, Unix operating system came into market. Unix also we have to purchase. Some cost is available for the Unix operating system also we have to purchase. Are you able to follow this? Now, Windows also we have to purchase, Unix also we have to purchase. But what happened is, in 1991, one student told to Unix, the operating system development team, hey, Unix guys, there are some problems with your Unix operating system. I will tell you some suggestions. Can you make those changes to Unix operating system? Then it will become more famous in the market. One college student told to Unix operating system team, hey, Unix developers, there are some bugs available in the Unix. I have identified the bugs in the Unix. Can you take my bugs and can you fix it? That is what the suggestion given by one student. Then Unix people told that, get lost from here. You are after all a student. We are the developers. We don't want to listen to you. You get lost from here. Nikal yahan se. That is what they scolded that person. That person created the revolution in the market. That person created the revolution in the market. In 1991, a student, his name is Linus Torvalds. What is the name? Linus Torvalds. He wants to make the code changes for the Unix operating system and he wants to release one operating system for free of cost. In 1991, a student, Linus Torvalds made some code changes to operating systems, Unix operating system or whatever operating system. He made some code changes to operating system and released into market for free of cost. He developed an operating system like a Unix. So in 1991, a student, Linus Torvald, made some code changes to operating system and released into market for free of cost. That is called Linux operating system. That is called as Linux operating system. Now tell me, the Linux operating system developed by which company? No company. This is done by one person called Linus Torvalds. In the 1991, he was a student. He analyzed Unix operating system. He analyzed Windows operating system. They are charging money. Now he want to provide one operating system for the people for free of cost. That's where he has provided Linux operating system for the people. He has provided Linux operating system for the people. Now, Linus Torvalds used Minix operating system. Linus Torvalds developed Minix. Linus Torvalds used Minix operating system. There was a name called Minix. Torvalds used Minix operating system. Minix operating system. Now he has taken by keeping first 3 letters from his name and the last 2 letters from the Minix, he framed it as a Linux. By taking first 3 letters from his name, which is called LIN, and last 2 letters from Minix. Last 2 letters from Minix OS. Last 2 letters from the Minix, that is called UX. He named it as Linux. Now you understand how Linux operating system came into market. Changes to operating system and released into market for free of cost. That is called Linux operating system. How he named it as a Linux? In his name, there are first 3 characters called LIN, and in the Minix, he has taken last 2 letters called UX. He framed it as a Linux. That is the community-based operating system that we are using today. This Linux operating system is open source operating system. This Linux operating system is open source operating system. Now you understand how this Linux came into market. Now do you understand how this Linux came into market? Tanmay Sahu, you understand? Who developed this Linux OS for us? Linus Torvalds. What is the name of that person? Linus Torvalds. In the 1991, he was a student at that time. In 1991, a student, Linus Torvalds made some code changes to operating system which is available in the market and released into market for free of cost. That is called Linux operating system. How he kept the name as a Linux? Linus Torvalds done the analysis and developed one Linux operating system. Whatever the operating system he has taken, he made the code changes to that operating system and he kept the name as a Linux operating system. But finally, he realized that he has to keep his name also in the operating system because he kept lot of efforts. He has taken first 3 letters from his name, last 2 letters from the operating system name, and he named it as a Linux. This is the Linux operating system. Windows is from Microsoft company. Linux developed by Linus Torvalds in the 1991. Linux is a free. The main reason why Linus Torvalds developed this operating system, he want to provide operating system for the people for free of cost. So Linux is a free software. Linux is free. Not only free, it is open source. Whatever the code that Linus Torvalds has done, that code is available in the market. You can take that code and you can modify that code also. That is the reason it is called as open source operating system. Linux is free and open source operating system. Anybody can take the code of the Linux operating system, can modify according to their requirement. And the Linux is multi-user based operating system. That means multiple users can connect to the Linux OS at a time. Multiple users can connect to Linux OS at a time. And Linux is very secure and Linux is community based. Now so many people are supporting for the Linux OS. Okay, Linux OS is highly recommended for businesses. That means if you are running a company, if you want to manage the infrastructure for your company, then you will go for the Linux operating system. How these operating systems came into market? The first operating system came into market in the 1950. Unix came into market in the 1960. Windows DOS, Microsoft DOS came into market in the 1981. Windows came into market in the 1985. Linux came into market in the year of 1991. Linux developed by Linus Torvalds. He has developed one operating system with a name called Linux. He has taken first 3 letters from his name, last 2 letters from the operating system name. He prepared a name called Linux. That is what the operating system which is having lot of demand in the market today. That is what, that is the right. Come on guys. Linus, yeah, here it is. There was a spelling mistake in the second line. Linus Torvalds. Linus Torvalds used Linux operating system. Then he used first 3 letters from the name, last 2 letters from the operating system name, and he prepared Linux operating system. Is this clear for all of you? How the Linux came into market? How the Linux came into market? Now, are you clear with this one? Lot of theory, huh? Lot of theory. Feeling bored or interesting? Feeling bored? Sir, क्या theory पढ़ा रहे हैं sir? Interesting. Good. So now, from which year Linux operating system available in the market? 1991. Who developed this Linux operating system? Who developed this Linux operating system? Linus Torvalds. Which operating system he used to develop the Linux? Minix. Which operating system he used to develop the Linux? Minix. How the Linux prepared? From his name, first 3 letters. From the Minix, he has used last 2 letters and he prepared Linux. How creative he is. If he is not creative, can he develop this kind of operating system which is ruling in the market? In every company, they will use a Linux operating system. Oh, Bhagwan hai humko. Linus Torvalds. Linus Torvalds is the person who developed this operating system. You got it? You got it? Right. Now, Linux distributions, guys. Now, when somebody developed a software or any project, what people will do in the market? What people will do in the market? Copy paste or not? Copy paste karte nahi karte? Come on. Linux distributions. There is a concept called Linux distributions. Linux distributions. Linux is open source operating system. Linux is free and open source operating system. Linux is free and open source operating system. Linux is free and open source operating system. Open source means anybody can take the code of Linux and they can modify. Open source means anybody can take the code and can customize according to their requirement. Open source means anybody can take the code and can customize according to their requirement. Now, Linux is free software and Linux is open source software. Open source means anybody can take the code and can customize according to their requirement. Then what happened is so many people and companies copied Linux operating system. They customized it according to their requirement. They released that operating system with their own names. Those are called as Linux distributions. Linux distributions. So many companies and people has taken Linux OS source code and customized according to their requirement and released into market with different name. Released into market with different names. They are called as Red Hat RHEL. RHEL is one of the Linux OS which is developed by Red Hat company. What this Red Hat people has done? Red Hat people has taken Linux operating system developed by Linus Torvalds. They customized that Linux operating system. They released into market with a name called RHEL operating system, which is paid software. You need to purchase. They have customized it. And one more Linux flavor is available, which is called as CentOS. CentOS is also one of the Linux flavor. It is developed by community people. Several people has taken the Linux and customized and they released into market with a name called CentOS. And another OS is called as Ubuntu. Another OS is called as what? Ubuntu. Ubuntu is also one of the Linux flavor. In the Windows, we have Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 10, Windows 11. Similarly, in the Linux, we have CentOS, Ubuntu, Fedora, OpenSUSE. Like that, there are several flavors are available in the Linux. Ubuntu is also one of the Linux flavor, which is community-based Linux operating system. Which is a community-based Linux operating system. And the next one is OpenSUSE. OpenSUSE is one of the operating system which belongs to Linux flavor. It is done by Microsoft only. Like that, there was another Linux flavor which is called as Fedora. There was another Linux operating system, a Linux flavor which is called Fedora. I forgot which company developed it, guys, but Fedora is also one of the Linux operating system. Now, tell me, Linux means these all are the distributions of the Linux. What is the meaning of distributions of the Linux? As it is open source, people has taken the Linux operating system source code. They have customized the source code of the Linux as per their requirement and they released into market. RHEL is one of the Linux flavor. CentOS is one of the Linux flavor. Ubuntu is one of the Linux flavor. OpenSUSE, one of the Linux flavor. Fedora is one of the Linux flavor. Kali Linux, that is also one of the Linux flavor. There are so many Linux distributions are available. You can check in the Google Linux distributions list. Linux distributions list. Now see here, Ubuntu, Fedora, Arch Linux, SUSE Linux, Magia, Scientific Linux, Kubuntu, Bodhi Linux, Mandriva Linux. Like that, there are several Linux distributions are available. What is the meaning of Linux distributions? Oh my God, so many distributions are there. CentOS are RHEL based, Fedora, OpenSUSE, Urpumi, apt RPM, independent RPM distributions, Debian based Linux. Like that, there are several distributions are available for Linux operating system. Why these many distributions are available for the Linux? Why these many distributions are available for the Linux? Okay, now, so in the 1991 Linux came, see here how many childs are there for the Linux. See how many childs are there for Linux. These all are the customizations people has done. These all are the customizations people has done because Linux is open source operating system. Can anybody taking Windows OS and customizing and releasing? No. Windows is a commercial. Microsoft will not give you the code of the Windows. It is a proprietary software. If any changes has to be done for the Windows, only Microsoft will do. Windows 1, Windows 3, Windows 7, Windows 8, Windows 7, Windows 11. Who is releasing these Windows versions? Microsoft only releasing. Because Windows is a Microsoft product. Microsoft only will make the changes to Windows OS, will release into the market with a new version. But what about Linux? Linux is not from any company. Linux is free, open source. Anybody can take the Linux operating system. They can customize the Linux operating system. They can release into market with their own name. Suppose if I have a time, I will take the Linux operating system. I will make the changes and I will release it Ashok IT OS. Yes, it is possible because it is open source. Code is already available. I can take that code. I will modify that code. I will release into market by saying Ashok IT operating system. Is it possible with the Linux? Then Ashok IT OS also will be one of the distribution of the Linux, one of the flavor of the Linux. Are you getting my point? What is the meaning of Linux distributions? Are you able to understand what are the flavors of the Linux? What are the distributions of the Linux? If I am using Ubuntu Windows or Ubuntu OS, if I am using Ubuntu OS, that means I am using Linux OS or not? Ubuntu belongs to Linux only. Ubuntu is one of the flavor in the Linux. Ubuntu is one of the flavor in the Linux. If I go for CentOS, what is CentOS? CentOS is a separate operating system or CentOS belongs to Linux operating system? CentOS belongs to Linux operating system. RHEL, this is also one of the Linux operating system. It is developed by Red Hat. How the Red Hat developed? They have taken the code which is done by Linus Torvalds. They made the changes and they released into market. And they are selling the RHEL. RHEL is not free. We have to purchase the RHEL software. But CentOS and Ubuntu are the open source distributions of the Linux. You can use them for free of cost. I hope you got my point. What is Linux? How Linux came into market and what are the distributions of the Linux? Does it make sense, guys? Does it make sense? Good. First of all, what we discussed about Windows operating system, we discussed about Linux operating system, when the operating systems came into market and how Linux came into market and what are the Linux distributions. Linux distributions are nothing but flavors of the Linux. Flavors of Linux are called as Linux distributions. So you can also provide one of the Linux distribution if you have time and if you have knowledge. Got it? Fine. First of all, what is operating system? Windows is one operating system, Linux is one operating system. What is operating system? Why we are talking about this Windows and Linux? What is this operating system first of all? Can anyone tell me what is operating system? What is operating system? An operating system is a software that acts as a mediator between computer hardware and the end user. What is operating system? An operating system is a software that acts as an interface, that acts as a mediator between computer hardware components and end user. Operating system is a software that acts as a mediator between computer hardware components and end user. Now, I am one person. I want to use a computer. I want to store some data into my computer. I am an end user, guys. I am a end user. Now, here computer is available. Here computer is available. For this computer, we have CPU. We have a CPU for the computer. We have a RAM in the computer. We have a RAM in the computer. We have a hard disk in the computer. And we have a motherboard also in the computer. RAM available, hard disk available, motherboard available. These are called as hardware components in the computer. Motherboard, RAM, hard disk will be available, CPU. And we will have a RAT. That RAT also will be available for our computer for using. Mouse. The RAT is nothing but mouse. Okay. One RAT is also available for our computer. Now, I want to communicate with this computer. Can computer understand Telugu? Can it understand Hindi, English? No. उसको तेलुगु, हिंदी, इंग्लिश, मराठी, गुजराती, ओडिया कुछ नहीं आता है. Computer don't know any language. Computer knows only one language, which is called a binary language. Computer will understand only ones and zeros. Computer will understand only ones and zeros. Okay. Now, if I want to communicate with the computer, we need one mediator. That mediator is called as operating system. What is the mediator we are using to communicate with the computer? Operating system. Operating system is acting as a mediator between end user and computer hardware components. Operating system is acting as a mediator between the user and the hardware components. Computer operating system. Now, can you use a computer without operating system? Can you use a computer without operating system now? Can you tell me? Can we use a computer without any operating system? Guys, come on. Can we use a computer without operating system? We cannot use a computer without operating system. Every computer system must have at least one operating system to run the applications or to perform the operations. Every computer system should have at least one operating system to perform operations or to run the applications. Every computer should have at least one operating system to perform executions or to run other programs. Are you guys get my point? End user will use operating system to communicate with the computer hardware components. Now, in my system, hard disk is available. Hard disk is used to store the data. I want to store one file into my computer. So I cannot interact with the hard disk directly. I am having an operating system. By using this operating system, I can communicate with the computer hardware components. Okay, now tell me, what is operating system? Can you guys tell me what is operating system? An operating system is a software that acts as a mediator between computer hardware components and end user. every computer system should have at least one operating system to run the other programs. Okay, now what operating systems we know now as of now? Windows is one operating system, Linux is one operating system, iOS is one operating system, Android is one operating system. Windows, Linux, Unix, Android, iOS, these all are called as operating systems. By using these operating systems, we are communicating with the hardware components of the computer. Now, if we come to Windows, Windows is a single user based operating system developed by Microsoft. Linux developed by Linus Torvalds in 1991, which is free and open source. So many companies has taken the Linux operating system. They made some changes to the Linux operating system. They released into market with the different names. Those are called as Linux flavors. We can call them as Linux distributions. We can call them as Linux distributions. Okay, good. All of you can read these points once again. All of you, can you revise the notes? Guys, I'm giving beautiful notes for you. I'm giving beautiful notes for you. You just read these notes, that is sufficient. You just read these notes, that is sufficient. Come on, read the points. Read the points. Read the points. EC2, Elastic Compute Cloud. By using EC2, we are able to launch one machine, which is called as EC2 instance. For EC2 instance, I am using Windows. Windows is the operating system. What is the operating system? Operating system is a software that acts as a mediator between computer hardware and components and end user. We are the end users. We are talking to computer by using OS. Every computer should have at least one OS. Then only we can perform our operations. Then only we can run the other applications. What operating system we will use generally? Generally, we will be using the Windows. Windows operating system provided by Microsoft. It is a paid software, no security. Only one user can access at a time. We have to install antivirus. It is having a beautiful GUI. It is having a beautiful GUI. So Windows is recommended for personal use. If you are using a personal computer, then it is recommended to go for the Windows operating system. Got it. Now, first of all, what is this Linux? Linux is free and open source operating system. Linux operating system code is available in the market. Anybody can take it, can modify according to their requirement. Anybody can take the Linux OS code, can customize according to their requirement. Linux is multi-user based operating system. Linux is very secure operating system, and Linux is community based. Multiple people are working for the Linux. Okay, first up, Linux came into market in the year of 1991. Who developed it? Linus Torvalds. He used Minix operating system. From Linus and Minix, he prepared the Linux. Okay, Linux is open source. So many people has taken the Linux and customized the Linux OS, and they released into market with the different names. They are called as flavors of the Linux. We can also call them as distributions of the Linux. Operating system means it is a software which is acting as a mediator between the end user and the hardware components of the computer. Are you guys clear with this one? Are you guys clear with this one? Any questions or any doubts? Any questions or any doubts? Now, today I'm giving you one task, guys. Today I'm giving you one task. Can you launch one EC2 instance with Linux OS? Can you launch one EC2 instance with Linux OS? Now we know what is EC2 and we know what is Linux. We know what is Linux. Then can you launch Linux VM using EC2 service in the AWS? If I give you this document, can you follow this document and can you launch one EC2? Very clearly steps are given. Very clearly the steps are given. Can you launch EC2 instance by using this document? Okay, and two parts are available in this, guys. First step is launching EC2 instance with Linux machine, with Linux OS. Launching Linux VM using AWS EC2 service. AWS EC2. AWS is a cloud. EC2 is one of the famous service in the AWS. By using EC2, we can run the virtual machines. Now, I want to run one virtual machine in the EC2 with Linux OS. Yesterday, you have launched one EC2 machine with Windows. From today, we are going to use Linux. I want you to launch one EC2 machine with Linux OS. Just follow my document. Today, I have prepared this document for you. There are almost 18 steps are there to launch Linux instance, EC2 instance with Linux OS. 18 steps are available. If you follow this document as it is, you will be able to launch the EC2 instance with Linux OS. That is one part. Second part of the movie, connecting to that Linux OS by using putty. I have given the steps also. Almost there are 9 steps are available, 8 steps are available to connect to. Yesterday we used RDP to connect to the Windows. Now today we can connect to that Linux machine by using putty software. To connect to the Linux, we are going to use putty. Can you complete this document as an assignment before coming to tomorrow? Tomorrow is Saturday, no office for the working people. I think you can complete this document before coming to tomorrow's session. Very detailed, each and everything, each and every step with the proper screenshot I have given, guys. If I give this document to 10th class student also, they can do the EC2 instance setup with Linux OS. They can connect to that OS by using putty. 10th class student also can follow the steps and can complete the task. You are a graduate. If you cannot do it, there is a problem. We have to fix it. Can you follow this document? Can you follow this document and can you complete the process? Assignment. Launching EC2 instance with AWS. Sorry, launching EC2 instance in the AWS with Linux OS. And connecting to that Linux instance, EC2 instance by using which software? Putty. How to download the putty also I have given. Download putty, install the putty, load the files, save the keys, open the putty, enter this file, enter the IP address, click on OK, click on connect, execute the terminal, open the terminal, connect to that. All these things are there. You just to follow this document, you will be able to set up it. Right, guys? Sure, Gayatri, I will share it. I will upload this document. I will upload this document in the Telegram group, guys. Please follow this document and set up EC2 instance with Linux OS and connect to that by using putty. Thank you. We will catch up in the tomorrow session. We'll catch up in the tomorrow session. Tomorrow evening, we have the same timing. Okay. Thank you, guys. I will see you tomorrow. Bye-bye.